Hello everyone, welcome to the classroom of Basic Principles of Steel Structures. In this lesson, we will learn the design method of beam columns in China. This class includes the following main points. The first one is the design requirements. The second one is the design of the solid web beam columns. The third one is the design of the built-up beam columns. The design requirements of the beam columns include the following contents. The section design of beam columns should meet the requirements of strength, stiffness, global stability, and local stability. When the bending moment of a built-up beam column is about the vertical axis, the requirement of single limb stability should also be satisfied. On the premise of meeting the design requirements, the section profile size should be as large as possible, and the thickness of the plates should be small to obtain a larger moment of inertia and a larger radius of rotation with a smaller section area, thus saving steel. The global stability bearing capacity of the solid web beam columns in and out of the moment plane should be as close as possible. The calculation of a beam column is complicated, and the form and size of the section are preliminarily designed according to the construction requirements or design experience. Then, the designed beam column is checked according to the design requirements. When the designed beam column does not meet the requirements or is too conservative, adjust the section size appropriately and then recheck until satisfied. The designed members should be simple in construction, convenient in the manufacture, and simple in connection. The construction requirements of stiffeners, diaphragms, and the longitudinal connection welds of beam columns shall be the same as those of corresponding axial compression members. The design steps of the solid web beam columns are as follows. The first step is to determine the design values of the internal forces of the member, that is, the design values of the bending moment, axial compression force, and shear force. The second step is to select the cross-section form. The third step is to select steel and determine steel strength design value. The fourth step is to determine the calculated length of the member in and out of the moment plane. The fifth step is to select cross-section size according to experience or existing data. The sixth step is to check and modify the preliminarily designed section, which includes checking strength, checking stiffness, checking the global stability in the moment plane, checking the overall stability outside the moment plane, checking the local stability. If the designed beam column does not meet the requirements or is too conservative, modify the preliminarily designed cross-section and then recheck until satisfied. Most built-up beam columns are used in the case of unidirectional bending, and the moments are about the vertical axis of the sections. The ability to resist the bending moment can be increased by adjusting the distance between the axes of the two column limbs. When the distance between the axes of the two column limbs of built-up beam columns is large, it is generally necessary to use laced columns to obtain greater member stiffness. The steps of section design are illustrated by taking the two-limb built-up beam column as an example. The design of other built-up beam columns is carried out by reference. The first step is to select the distance between the axes of the two column limbs, or the distance between the backs of the two column limbs, according to structural requirements or by experience. The second step is to calculate the actual forces N1 and N2 acting on the two column limbs respectively, and to determine the cross-section sizes of the two column limbs according to the actual compression member. The third step is to design the cross-section of the lacing bar and the connection of the lacing bar and the column limb. The fourth step is to check the calculation of the whole built-up beam column. If the design requirements are not satisfied, the cross-section of beam column shall be modified appropriately until all the design requirements are satisfied, and it is not too conservative when the H-beam or combined section, such as welded I-shaped section, is adopted for the column limbs of built-up beam columns. The local stability check should be carried out according to the single column limb check. In this lesson, we have studied the design method of beam columns in China. In the next lesson, we will begin to learn a new chapter. See you next time.